Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast with Kathy, Mark, and Burk, talking about movies. We always go back to this one movie that I probably talked about more than any other movie in my life, and that movie is Willy Wonka and The Exorcist. And it's one of my favorite movies, always has been, but it has a troubled history with sequels.
There's a Bazooza Peep, and there's a Azusa, California. Well, yeah, I'll just take it from what Burke's saying. Yes, the classic William Friedkin film is just that. You know, it's one of the all-time classic films of all time, not just a horror film. Or But then there was Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which was done by a really good director, John Borman, but it was a bit of a misfire. Exorcist
with the
3,
Ennio Morricone soundtrack, it should have been great.
It would have been great.
It missed the whole point of the first film. Exorcist 3, a William Peter Blatty film. It's based on his novel. I think is really good and very underrated.
Yeah, I like that.
Great scenes.
And Peter Scott. Oh my God, so good.
It's really good. And then there is another Exorcist film that I think was Paul Schrader originally did it, and then Rennie Harlin. It was kind of a disaster, and Rennie Harlin took over. And
there's a little flurry of sequels there for a while that all came out around the same time, and it was weird.
Then they kind of figured out that you just can't improve on the original Exorcist and don't even try. But
except for these people that for some reason, maybe it's it's a cash grab. These guys, David Gordon Green is the director, and some other people decided to take another classic film, Halloween, Danny McBride, and do another set of sequels after the other sequels that were H2O.
Actually, before the sequels. Like they did it the night after the first movie. They pretended like the other sequels didn't happen, which I loved that idea. That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Right. Rob Zombie stuff and all that. Yeah. But then but they don't know how to make a scary movie. They don't know how to make it interesting.
They didn't get why the first Halloween was good. Like why it was scary. They made like the Friday the 13th version of Halloween, which is not what it was. This big bombastic, ridiculous, huge set pieces. It wasn't the creepy little like scary moments of tension. It was this big explosion of crap.
And the same thing with The Exorcist. There's a reason why that first one still resonates, why the ripples from that explosion are still being felt and should be studied. I mean, if you want to make a scary movie, watch that one, because it's got so many things in it that are so powerful, and a lot of it, you can't just make a list and say, okay, it has this, and this. It's got a power in the characters and a power in the writing and a power in the pacing. Every little bit of it is put together so beautifully that it works. It works still. I mean, it still holds up. You watch it and you feel like you're not watching a movie from the 70s. You're watching a movie that takes place in the 70s. Right. I mean, the people that are making the sequels now, I think the power of branding compels them. It's not really a love of the Halloween movie, or the Halloween thing, or the Exorcist thing. I think it's a love of the branding. And are we going to get people to come see it who love the Exorcist, thinking they're going to get another Exorcist or another Halloween or whatever?
But they pitch it like they're the horror fans. They get like we're going back to the original. We got John Carpenter to do the music. Like they kind of pitched it as like we went back to the basics. We're gonna bring you this film the way it should be done. The sequel sucked. We're gonna do our own sequels and start from the first movie and on from that. And they got it so wrong on so many levels. And I have to say that I think Halloween Ends probably supplanted Conjuring as the worst movie I've ever seen. Like that was like, I was insulted by Halloween Ends. So I'm very disturbed that they are now taking on The Exorcist, because I feel like I hope people aren't not seeing The Exorcist and seeing this instead. I mean, we haven't seen the trailer. I'm just assuming every Halloween movie was a disaster that they did.
Yeah,
So
and Well, that they're because Blumhouse. It's like it's a title. It's like it's an IP. It's like this will be guaranteed. If it costs us $30 million to make this, it's guaranteed to make $60 million. This is math. This is business.
And I like Blumhouse because I like that they're just concentrating on horror
Me too.
movies and they're trying to do them like cheap, which I also like because I think horror movies should be cheap
Yeah.
because they're better when they're low budget. So let's see what this looks like.
Well, yeah, but there's a couple of interesting things. Ellen Burstyn reprises her role as Chris McNeil, and I think Linda Blair is in this also.
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis was in the Halloween movies, and that did not improve anything.
I know.
They didn't use the power of Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean,
no, they didn't.
It's sort of like saying this movie is set entirely on location in Bangkok, Thailand, but then the whole thing takes place inside a room. It's like you missed your opportunity to show a really cool play, and you had Jamie Lee Curtis in your movie, and
Well, let's look at the trailer.
We'll give it a chance.
We're going in with jaundiced opinions, but let's go check it out.
We're gonna see.
It comes out September 22nd. By the way,
I'm gonna hope for the best and see what happens.
Let's see.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. And roll.
Good day. You'll be home by dinner.
I love you. Good morning, Mr. Fielding.
Morning, Catherine.
And here are your daughters, Angela and Catherine. It's about 7 hours ago, and that's the last information we have.
Catherine!
Angela?
If you can hear this, we love you. Please come home.
Hey, you found her? What are you and Catherine doing out there in those woods?
You were just walking and walking. That's all I remember.
Angela, can you tell your dad how long you were gone?
A few hours.
Baby, you've been gone 3 days.
What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing.
Thought I heard you say something.
Hey, baby. You okay?
Wherever those girls went, they brought something back with them.
The body and the blood of Jesus Christ.
Body in the blood? Body in the blood?
Catherine.
Body in the blood. The body in the blood. The body and the blood.
Catherine.
The body and the blood. The body and the blood.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Mommy?
No, but there are people out there who have.
You have some experience with possession.
Yes, more than I'd like.
I believe you can help get our girls back.
Exorcism is a ritual. Every culture, every religion, they all use different methods. It's going to take all of them.
Don't be scared,
We've met before.
Mother. Stop it!
What did you do?
Is that Catherine's heartbeat? They're beating in sync.
God played a trick on you.
Okay, so not just one, but two. Please better already.
Well, I will
right.
say I like Ann Dowd. She's always good.
Aunt Lydia.
Yeah.
Always good.
She's
Hereditary.
always
She
good.
was
Yeah,
great in
Hereditary. She's
Hereditary.
always good. It's nice to
Handmaid's
see
Tale.
Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah.
We didn't see Linda Blair in that.
Is she actually in the film? I
Well,
that's
she's listed in the cast, so who knows?
Oh.
Maybe it's
They showed her
flashback.
picture. Does that
Yeah,
count?
Maybe a
maybe
cameo.
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I
it
think
just
really
looks
good.
like I don't know. It's like the scare, those goofy scares. That does nothing for me.
Well, here's the thing that I think when I see this, it's like this is another horror movie made for teenagers. It's got jump scares and it's got the scary kids saying, mother, and scary, and that guitar pedal voice effect when she's in the church and she's like the body and the flesh, and it's got that kind of doubled. I mean, you can buy that effect. It's a floor pedal for your guitar. It's an octave doubler. It's like
you can probably find it on GarageBand too.
Yeah, and it's a preset. Yeah, and you can. It sounds cool in a guitar solo, kind of Hendrix style, but when you put it on voice, it sounds like that. And you've heard it 1,000 times in movies. And I think it's almost like one of those things where you select it from a list and it's like scary child voice, click on it and it does that, Yeah. And it's just that kind of stuff. And the little girl walking, like this with with an old timey looking dress. It reminds me of like the spook house things that you see in a town where you go on Halloween and they've got like the little or the kind of Halloween decorations you can get at Halloween Town, or whatever, where it's like the scary little girl doll with the Raggedy Ann dress.
And you've seen it before. It's like tropes.
Yeah. There's tropes. And the X in the forehead, it's like, how many times have we seen an X in the forehead? And even from the Manson family on.
I'll just as a counterpoint, I'll talk things I did like in it.
Okay, there you go.
I thought it was bad, but a couple scenes where I kind of got a little bit like, oh, this is kind of all right. Anything with Ellen Burstyn in it, instantly, like that.
There's your gravitas
completely
right
elevated.
There. Yeah,
because one thing they did. This is where these guys always get this wrong. The smaller, the better. So even that scene where she starts walking the church and she's like, body in the blood. Like I was like, that's kind of creepy. But instead of just letting it be really grounded and this poor kid covered in blood walking down like and really gritty and believable, they had to amp it up, do the quick cuts, do the big crit, just have her dragging her ass through the hallway of the church going body and blood. I mean, that's disturbing.
Right.
No,
and it's going back to the first movie, I'll just say this real quick. It's like it all takes place basically in a bedroom and in a house with a few characters. But as soon as you bring in police and detectives and church people and doctors and all this kind of stuff, and that's what happens in Halloween. They bring the whole town in. It loses what makes it scary. It's because it's just happening to me and my daughter in my house, and nobody believes me. That's scary.
And I like that they went to her, like the little bit with Ellen Burstyn. Again, it's all Ellen Burstyn's the only saving grace, and they probably waste her also. But
I just love hearing her voice.
I love hearing her voice. She brings that sort of quiet gravitas that they need. It's probably the only time you'll breathe. And I like the idea that all these religions, we got to bring them all in for this one. That kind of creepy idea. And she's kind of gathering people to her house like that. It got kind of dark and quiet, for a second in the trailer. And I'm like, this is what it should be. And of course it all blows up. And then the stupid moment, first of all, the hospital setting. Yeah. What is with hospitals with these guys? It's like they ruin everything with fucking hospital scenes. Nobody wants to see that. Like,
well, they had it in the original Exorcist, but it was done like it was
for a second. Like,
it was showing that they can't find anything.
Yeah, the doctor was smoking a cigarette, which is creepy.
Yeah, I know he lights up smoke.
Ratty looking kids, like boom. It's like, oh god, I hated.
But that what you said, Kathy, about the smallness. That is the thing that people have lost touch with, and I think they're scared of
don't want to bore anyone.
Small because they don't want it. They're like trying to outdo last year's horror film. And we want this to be a bigger explosion and a bigger makeup and bigger gore and more blood and more explosive reveals of devils and
make it look as cheap as possible. Make it look as fake as possible. The thing that was great about Exorcist, because it was so grounded and small, it felt real, like it was happening, like it was this poor kid. But this just looked like movie effects. And also, can you imagine?
Like haunted house.
Ari Aster did the Exorcist. How fucking great that would be.
Yeah.
I mean, Hereditary was that. I always remember Hereditary is like it's my new gold standard because it was quiet, it was creepy,
it was small.
They didn't overplay anything.
Right.
And this thing is just classic fucking guys.
Also, there's levels to it too. With Exorcist, there were levels to it. Like you didn't feel like you were watching one of these big blowout things like that, of course. But there were other levels. There were things like in Hereditary that we always go back to.
Yeah,
there is a way to watch that movie where you're telling yourself this is a film about her mental illness, and these are like visions or feelings, or this is what it feels like to be really, profoundly mentally ill, and then to pass that on to your son or something, and to go through grief in a family and all these things that are actually real feelings that are visceral to us as human beings. We feel these things, and the original Exorcist had that feeling where Ellen Burstyn, as the mother of this girl who's going through something she doesn't even know what, it's her. The thing is that the thing that you feel in the original Exorcist is this mother's anguish and her terror and her confusion and her inability to explain it to anyone. Like with Rosemary's Baby or whatever, you hear her trying to explain, I think there's devil worshippers, or she's like telling the priest, I think my little girl needs an exorcism. And he's like, well, the first thing you need to do is get in a time machine and go back, and it's
not anymore.
And the primary thing, and I think my only takeaway from seeing this is I feel like this is a movie made for teenagers, and I feel like The Exorcist was made for grown-ups.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And also, like, I it's that sort of needlessly complicated. They did the same thing in Halloween. Or they have a good, clean storyline. We're going to have girls that disappear, and then we're going to have two of them, and then we're going to have them in hospitals. We're going to have them back and forth. We're going to have two families. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why? Yeah. And then I love the line, and I don't know how this actress said, the actress that we were just talking about said this straight face, their heartbeats are beating in unison. I'm like, it wouldn't be that hard, really, to get heartbeats eventually to beat in unison. It's so
not that
stupid.
It's not that unusual, really.
And this is going, I'll leave you with this point about how horror movies used to be and how they are now. For the 9 millionth time, I watched The Fog last night, which is a comfort food movie for me. And then they remade The Fog maybe 15 years ago. And of course, The Fog and the remake was, CGI, tons of characters, awful. Whereas the original is very small. They used a real fog machine. And it worked much better. It's like, it's just a much better movie. He knew how to direct that film.
I think it goes to what Kathy said. It's just, if these filmmakers had the courage to make a small horror film like Ari Aster did with Hereditary, and there's others. It's not just him, but to just hold it back a little bit and don't go all fully 100% into Halloween Town. It's like, there's things that are so overused, these tropes in horror that I guess maybe they work to make the people that go see the movie, they laugh, they scream and laugh because there's a jump scare. Somebody comes into frame like this, and it's not scary.
I also feel like I didn't see anything new. Like it's been all these years. I feel like it's kind of like with Jaws. They use the same tricks that Jaws used because they did it so perfectly, but they don't bring anything surprising or new. And at the time, Jaws was surprising and new. Same with The Exorcist, something new we hadn't seen before. Now it's just like an SNL sketch over and over again. And it's like, now we're going to see these girls, arching their back in the bed, being chained to the bed, looking all the same exact makeup. Yeah. And it's like, and it's not scary. Give me something new. But all they did was add loud sound effects and quick cuts. And it's like, them as good
poses, like horror poses,
so cliche.
These like scary standing in a certain way that's like, okay, that's a horror movie expression, Yeah. Like there's one of the creepiest things in that film is when a character dies and Father Damien Karras looks at the girl, and she's like laughing, and she's looking like she just did something naughty, and it's like that idea is a small idea, but in a less sophisticated film, they would have cut to her and she would have been, I killed him and now I'm going to kill you, and it would have been this overdone.
They don't know how to do that.
No, they're gonna test the hell out of it, because people are like, that's boring. So they keep adding stuff. They don't have any original ideas. They're just retreading in a bad way.
With Universal saying, hey, you have to put A, B, C, D, E, F, and G in this movie. I'm sure that's in there. So they probably sometimes their hands are tied, but that doesn't excuse them from not making really interesting.
They can still make a good movie.
They can take the Exorcist in a different direction. Them. Like go see Exorcist. Exorcist 3 is an Exorcist film, very much so, but it's different. And it has a different feel, different vibe. and it works.
It
So
does.
Well,
I
it's
recommend
the
checking it
thing is, what you have there is the first one and that third one with George C. Scott is you had William Peter Blatty. You know, he directed that third one, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he helped William Friedkin with the first one quite a bit. You know, I think there's so much of his fingerprints in that first film, and also William Friedkin's. But I think the two of them together, as much as they were sort of at each other's throats, evidently, I think that intensity of those guys, and those guys had lived and experienced. You know, William Peter Blatty wrote things from a fairly well-informed place.
Yeah.
And he was going for something that hadn't been done before, really. And that's the thing, you, like I said before, is like this is for adults. This is for, he wasn't like pandering to kids. He wasn't trying to do, there are, you know, some kind of jump scare type things in there, but they're reveals. They're done in a sophisticated way by a very talented filmmaker. Like the first time Chris McNeil opens the door and suddenly there's stuff flying around in the room, it is a shock. It comes out of nowhere. And the way that's revealed doesn't feel like it doesn't feel cheap and silly. It feels like you just opened the door with her.
Yeah.
And saw it.
That
with
is
her.
not this movie.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think of this movie, because we obviously don't have high hopes for what this is going to be. I may watch it because of Ellen Burstyn, but
I think I know what it's going to be, but if I'm pleasantly surprised, I'll be the first one to say that. You
Tell
know,
us.
Yeah, me too. I promise.
right.
I hereby promise that if I watch it and it surprises me and it actually turns out to be something really good, we'll do another one and we'll
do a mea culpa.
We'll
Let us know what you
confess.
think.
We will
Let us know what you
confess.
think. Which is your favorite Exorcist film or even possession film? How's this compare? Let us know. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye now.